What's going on, guys? Christian here from CK Wraps. Today I'm going to show you how to tint a taillight on a Honda Civic, okay? The Honda Civic taillight is not an easy taillight to tint. There aren't many taillights that I'm not able to tint. The BRZ, the BRZ was one of the ones that I had a really difficult time with. I didn't feel like I was satisfied with the job, so I didn't want to do a video on how to do it, even though I attempted it twice. Perhaps I'll revise my strategy moving forward. When it comes to tinting lights, the same basic principles apply when you're heating and stretching the film, except obviously this is a little more complex. This light right here was actually tinted by one of the students in the workshop that I have, and I want to show you how they did it. They did it the right way, just there are some flaws in it based off of, material handling, that sort of thing, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to remove this wrap and then I'm going to retint it for you so you can actually see how to do this. Let's bring the camera in so you can actually see what happened. If we look at this light right now, we're going to notice a couple of things. We're going to notice a dot right there. This is a casting point in the lens. When I remove the film, this is going to be there still. This area was left bare. I'll explain why. And then same with the inner edge right here. This was left bare as well. Around the outside perimeter, the edge was cut, but not nicely. Not a big deal. They're learning how to do it properly though. But at the very edge of the film, we don't have any pullback, which is nice, at the very edge of the light. So no pullback on the edge. There is a little bit of pullback when it comes to when they cut between the gap right here. So we want to make sure that we alleviate all tension in this area before we actually cut it. We do have to cut it because this gap is not, we're not able to bridge this gap and then stretch the vinyl in. It's way too tight. The film will pop out and bubble. With this light is very angular, and it's a very aggressive style light to be tinting. I'm going to remove this wrap and show you how to do this, even using knifeless tape. I'm going to close the trunk because we'll need to close the trunk in order to plant the film or mount the film before we actually tint it. So I'm just going to put my film on the side of the car. This is a scrap piece that I have kicking around. It's not the nicest finish, a little bit scratched up, a little bit dirty. That's fine. It's going to do the job in showing you how to do this. Let's remove this. We're going to add a little heat and get this film off. You can use knifeless tape on the tints. This will help make it so that you don't have to cut on the lens with a knife. I'm going to remove the outer perimeter here. Oh, they didn't even cut through the whole thing. And then we're going to remove the inner perimeter here. And get this off. So we have a nice fresh start. Got a little vinyl attached to the bottom here, so let's get this off right there. Perfect. One thing to notice.
I still ball in the picture. Something wrong with the picture. Something is wrong with the way
and get the film or get the knifeless tape running across and in that recess. The more center we can make the filament, the better this looks. As I get to a corner like this, what I do is I get it right up to the corner, just before it bends.
Why? I do these things and I don't know. Just trying to go and prove myself to be one of the best I can. Yeah, I wouldn't wanna let you down. I care about the things you say. It's just that I don't see myself.
Good. I'm happy with that. We'll cut off our excess tape. We'll leave ourselves enough. Stick that down somewhere. Stick that down somewhere. Now what we can do here is put another piece of knifeless tape on the inside edge. Bring the camera around. We have to remember which piece we're putting down last. If we pull the wrong piece, that means we're going to be cutting through our layer of knifeless tape that's already down, and we don't want to do that. As you can see here, I'm not going all the way to the inside. Why? Because the film is not going to stretch into that recess right there. Impossible. So we go in a bit. Do not stretch the knifeless tape into recesses. Always lay it in, and you'll be fine. It won't lift out. I have to just lift here, because this piece was bridging a gap. There we go. Could get it tucked in and underneath, and we're done. Anchor that somewhere. Our knifeless tape is set up. I know that this piece running across is the piece I have to start with. The pieces that are running vertical are the pieces that I do afterwards. Let's take you for a little spin, a little tour of the light, and show you how I have my knifeless tape set up. Our next step here will be to anchor the film. We need to anchor this film down so that way we can have a nice even stretch all the way across. As we get towards this far end over here, we have to ease up on our tension. If we keep stretching way past this edge, it's going to fail at the very end. If your film is ever pulling back, it's simply because you stretched too far past the edge. I'm going to take the film, and this is Vvivid's air release tint. This is the dark smoke, just in case anyone wants to know, because it's quite dark. We want to anchor the film. Oh, what I did notice here is that my knifeless tape just pulled off, so I'm going to have to, I love knifeless tape. It's a good and a bad thing sometimes. Okay, so let's get that back in there. I have no idea how that even happened, but it did. I'm going to get that back in there. Good thing I noticed it. At this point, we could get contaminants on our film, so keep that in mind. You may want to get a new piece. Let's put that all the way back over there again. Okay, I have no idea how that happened. Anyways, let's start over here. Get our film situated back in its spot. If I wait too long, it gets cold, it makes it hard to do. Cool. Anchor it in. We're looking good here. Happy with this. I have 0 wrinkles on anywhere on my film other than right here. Here I have a couple. These wrinkles, we just pull the opposite direction, but we'll do that in a second. We're going to squeegee out some of this right here and right here. We're going to come across here, but what we're going to do first is cut on the tape. So this is why I have the tape here. This is going to alleviate tension, watch. This piece will now want to come in much more freely.
It's calling me, like the rainbow, like the rainbow. It's calling me, like the rainbow.
And I just squeegee over that area right there, and they won't come back. So we keep doing that. We work this film down to that bottom edge right here. What I can do at this point is I can trim the film off at the bottom to get it out of the way, just so you guys can see. When I cut, I stay on the bottom side of the light. I don't need a lot of extra vinyl here. Why? Because even if we don't wrap the very bottom edge of the light, you cannot see it. A little more heat here. Let's get it shrunk down some more. If we heat and stretch our vinyl properly, we'll always be able to tighten up the bottom edge here. This is very hard to do. As long as we're pulling tight across, we'll be able to heat and shrink the bunching up of the film down here. It's one of the hardest parts to do. And I'll start lifting the film up and letting it pull back if it wants to. This way I know that I know if I have or do not have tension on this edge where I'm going to be bridging that gap and cutting with knifeless tape. I have a little bit of wrinkles right here. Again, just keep a little tension on it. They're not bad at all. It simply means that I pulled a little bit too much down to this edge. Keep them flat, squeegee over them. Just keep it flat when you're doing that, and it'll be fine. Excellent, it's all working out so far. I'm just gonna cut on the tape up here so I can get my hands a little closer and let the film shrink back in case it needs to. Lift that up. We're almost done these actually. It's not that far away. Again, I'm gonna lift the film. Make sure I have no tension on that edge. Perfect, it's shrinking down and pulling itself tight across the edge. It's amazing, it's what you want. This way I know, again, I have no tension leading across my knifeless tape. The trickier section will be doing right up here. So I'm going to cut some of this film. My knifeless tape is all the way over there. Perfect, so I want to make sure it doesn't move again. Cut off a whole bunch of that. Don't need it. Pull this film back right here. Heat the edge. Make sure it shrinks before I do anything crazy. Cool, it's shrinking and it's still pulling itself along the edge. It's all about directions, guys. If we pulled the film in the wrong directions, it would not be pulling itself tight across the edge. This is good to go. I can cut out the outer perimeter if I want to at this point. I know that I have the film down and around the entire light. Let's cut it off. Back edge of the blade on the back side of the light. I'm cutting this out of the way right now so that I can give you better visibility of the knifeless tape when I do that part. Normally, I would do the knifeless tape first, simply because I have the excess film around the outside holding it down in case I happen to pull the film up. It's just a reassurance, that's all. I'm going to use a plastic tool and get this lifted up. Try not to distort or change the film too much. There's one piece, there's still another one in there. There's one on the inside. Let's get that off my hands. Come on. So I always lift with the tucking tool first. It's tricky. I couldn't lift with the tucking tool there, so I had to use my knife, and then potentially some tweezers might help, but this is okay. I'm just staying on top of the knifeless tape. I see it, so I'm just staying on top of it. I'm trying not to obviously wreck or ruin the film that I have down. So be conscious of that. This one should break off at the corner again. There's going to be one more section running from here all the way down to the bottom. Let's get this area out as well. I have to find a space. I always try to use my tucking tool, but if I can't, then I'll use the blade to flip up the edge. Keep in mind there is knifeless tape under here, so that's not too big of a deal. I'm not worried about hitting anything with it. There it is. There's one. Just take your time. You don't want this to break off again. This little piece of green tape that's in here still, it's very sensitive. So you always just take your time with it. I've got one more in there now. That was the top side, now I have to do the bottom side. Let's try and get it from here maybe. There it is. Just very gently. The film does not stick to the knifeless very much, so it does make it possible to separate the two. And again, any distortion we cause right now in the film, we can simply heat it and it'll go back to normal. So just try not to distort it too much. Almost got it. There we go. this one out, take my time. Last thing I want to do is go fishing. Now, we're going to take this and push down the edges into the bridged gap. And lay that film in there as nice as possible. I use the buffer side of the squeegee because that just fits into this area very nicely, actually. We can add a little bit of heat if we want to, just to make things a little bit softer. Good. You're going to see what this looks like versus what it looked like before. And you're going to see if there's a gap there or not. Take your time when doing this. You do not want to mess it up. Again, there's some dirt under here. I can feel it. I know it's there. Again, this is just a rental for fun to show you guys. Just push very firm into this recess. Amazing. Taillight is tinted. Now I'm going to show you what the gap looks like. I've got to clean it up a little bit, but again, there is some dirt in there. But I want you to see, mainly what I want you to see is that you don't really notice the red of the original lens. As I said before, there was some dirt in there. There's the casting point right here. You can see that, there we go. So see all that dirt? I didn't clean these. And then we can see the inner edge right here. We're only able to get in with the film about there. It's not bad. From back here, don't really tell. You can see the outer ring now, it's all red. And personally, I would suggest leaving this area exposed because it will be more of a deterrent when it comes to police, because you can get a ticket for this kind of stuff. That's it. I'm looking forward to doing some more videos for you. I'll get into more complicated things. Again, this is very advanced, a lot more difficult to do, but can be done. And I showed you how. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it very much. Take care.